For years, Buckingham Palace behaved as though nothing was happening. Not a word, not a correction, not a flicker of public acknowledgement. Just that icy, unbreakable silence the monarchy has mastered over centuries. And while the world argued, analysed, defended, criticised, speculated and spiralled, the palace remained absolutely still, as if the noise simply didn't apply to them. But behind those quiet corridors and guarded windows, something else was unfolding. According to insiders, the monarchy wasn't ignoring anything. It was preparing. Not scrambling, not debating, not panicking, but drafting, reviewing, and finally completing a set of documents that insiders describe as cold, final, and structurally irreversible. No more discussion, no more waiting, no more reconsideration. Just a set of official papers that, once signed, would alter the future of two children who had never chosen any of this, Archie and Lilibet. The message contained in those documents was not gentle, not diplomatic, not softened by royal courtesy. It was surgical. Their claim to royal identity is removed, not delayed, not paused, not awaiting further review. Removed. And suddenly, the years of palace silence made perfect sense. They weren't refusing to speak. They weren't avoiding confrontation. They were calmly waiting for the rulebook, a rulebook older than modern royal drama, to deliver its verdict for them. A rulebook that predates Harry, Meghan, and every media storm of the last decade. A rulebook designed to protect the bloodline, the hierarchy, and the future of the monarchy from confusion, opportunism, and political threat. To understand why the monarchy has made such a severe, unflinching decision, we must return to a moment over a century ago, when the crown faced a world in chaos and responded with a law so rigid, so absolute, that it has remained untouched ever since. The year was 1917. A king faced with war, collapsing empires, and a need for absolute clarity did something that changed royal history forever. He wrote down, in legal terms, exactly who could and could not be recognised as a prince or princess. Not as opinion, not as tradition, not as preference, as law. And now, more than 100 years later, that same law has delivered its verdict on Meghan and Harry's children. Quietly, coldly, permanently. The first signs were almost invisible. A shift in tone during a private meeting, a subtle change in how senior aides communicated, an unusual stillness in offices that were normally buzzing with quiet activity. Then came the whisper. A short message passed quietly through palace corridors. The papers are done. At first, even insiders didn't believe it. For years, the palace had maintained an unmoving silence, while Meghan and Harry appeared on global stages, produced documentaries, published memoirs, and reshaped their public identities. Every time the Sussexes spoke, the world expected a royal response, but the monarchy never responded. And now that silence had a reason. Those with knowledge of the matter say the documents weren't drafts, proposals, or working notes. They were finished, reviewed, approved, stamped with the quiet finality the Crown reserves for decisions that cannot and will not be reversed. And inside them was a message that cut deeper than any interview or headline. Archie and Lilibet's royal claim is void. Not under review, not pending reconsideration, not awaiting clarification, void. The decision wasn't emotional, it wasn't influenced by public opinion or media noise. It was the inevitable conclusion of a legal structure older than every argument Meghan and Harry have made since stepping away. The monarchy didn't act out of anger, it acted out of preservation. To them, the debate was never about personalities, feelings, or perceptions. It was about lineage, about the rules written long before the Sussex marriage, the California move, the Netflix deals, or the podcasts. And as palace staff absorbed the reality of those documents, something else became clear. The palace hadn't been avoiding the conversation. It had been waiting for the moment the rulebook could speak louder than the controversy, waiting until emotion could no longer cloud protocol, waiting for the point at which the Crown could act with absolute certainty. Because in the world of royalty, decisions of this scale don't come from panic. They come from precedent. And the precedent was written in 1917. The final outcome had been set long before Archie and Lilibet were even born. Harry may have stepped away. Meghan may have redrawn her life. The media may have spun countless narratives. But the monarchy follows only one story, the one written into its legal bones. And that story has now sealed the fate of two children who never chose any part of this. Don't blink, hit subscribe. The rule that changed everything is next. To understand why the palace has now taken such a cold, irreversible step, we must travel back more than a century, to a moment when the monarchy was fighting for its very survival. The year was 1917. Europe was engulfed in war, empires were collapsing, and royal families across the continent were being toppled one by one. The British monarchy, battered by crisis and terrified of instability, faced a stark truth. If it didn't define itself, the world would define it for them. So King George V did something no monarch had dared to do before. He wrote the rules down, not as tradition, not as custom, but as law. He created the letters patent, a rigid, unforgiving legal decree that explicitly spelled out who is and who is not royal. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't emotional, it was defensive, a survival strategy in legal form. For the monarchy, this document became the anchor that held the institution steady through a century of upheaval. And in that document were 3 strict, immovable requirements. Rule 1. Proven royal lineage. The child must be unquestionably and formally connected to the royal bloodline. No gaps, no ambiguity, no interpretations. This rule existed to prevent imposters, pretenders, political opportunists, or anyone trying to leverage royal identity without ironclad proof. Rule 2. Crown-verified birth record. The child's birth must be formally acknowledged, documented, and registered through the Crown, not through a press release, not through a spokesperson, not through friendly media. The monarchy's logic was simple. If the Crown does not confirm the child's arrival, the child does not enter royal history. For decades, this step was treated like a sacred ritual. Official witnesses, royal doctors, palace registrars, all ensuring the record was indisputable. Rule 3. Church of England. Christening is a christening performed within the Church of England, witnessed traditionally and logged by the Crown. Not symbolic, not optional, not a private family moment. In royal law, the church is not just spiritual, it is constitutional. A royal child is formally bound to the crown through baptism, and without it, the child sits outside the legal definition of royal. These rules weren't written with kindness. They were written with clarity, cold, surgical clarity. King George V wasn't crafting a warm family guidebook. He was building a legal shield, one that would protect the monarchy from confusion, modernisation, and the chaos of shifting loyalties. For over 100 years, every royal birth followed these rules flawlessly. Every detail, every ceremony, every document, no exceptions. Until Meghan and Harry's children arrived. Because when Archie was born in 2019, for the first time in modern royal memory, the palace encountered something it hadn't seen in generations. A royal birth that didn't align neatly with the rulebook. A royal baby whose record did not remain consistent. A birth certificate that was edited after the fact. A child whose early paperwork created questions, not clarity. And within the monarchy, questions are dangerous. Questions turn into cracks. Cracks become precedent, and precedent becomes collapse. By the time Lilibet was born, the palace wasn't just concerned, it was quietly preparing for the inevitable. Each missed step, each altered record, each deviation from protocol wasn't viewed as a cultural difference or modern preference. Inside palace circles, it was interpreted as a structural break, one the letters patent was designed to address without apology. Because the monarchy does not adjust the rulebook for individual circumstances, the rulebook adjusts the individual, and Archie and Lilibet, beloved though they may be, were never going to escape the consequences of a law written in the shadows of a global war. A law that does not bend, not for publicity, not for popularity, not for pain. A law that has now delivered its verdict. Archie's arrival should have been a straightforward moment in royal history. A new baby, a happy announcement, a predictable sequence of protocol. But hidden inside the legal record was a detail that left the palace uneasy. Archie's birth certificate originally listed Rachel Meghan Markle, mother, normal, accurate, standard procedure. Then, quietly and without public explanation, the document was altered. Meghan's full legal name was removed and replaced with Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Birth certificates are not light reading. They are permanent legal entries. They are not changed unless something significant forces the issue. So why did this one shift? Meghan insisted the palace demanded it. Palace aides insisted Meghan requested it. Both denied the other. Neither provided clarity. But inside the monarchy, the only thing that mattered was this. A royal record had been altered, and a single crack in a royal record becomes a justification. One that grows, spreads, fractures, and ultimately affects everything. By the time Lilibet was born in 2021, the monarchy had learned something crucial. Silence can be a verdict. Royal births traditionally involve official doctors, palace statements, registrars, and formal witnessing. But Lilibet's announcement came from California, a cheerful press release, thousands of miles away, without a single sign of Crown involvement. No royal confirmation, no official witness, no integrated record, nothing. For most families, that's irrelevant. For the monarchy, it's seismic. Because for the first time in modern royal history, a Windsor descendant was born entirely outside the royal record. The palace's reaction? Stillness. Strategic, deliberate stillness. A quiet message was being sent. This child is not ours to claim. Months later, Meghan revealed that Lilibet had been baptised in California. Beautiful ceremony, family photos, warm memories. But according to Church of England records, there was a problem. It wasn't recognised. In royal terms, this isn't minor. This is structural. A child without an official Church of England baptism is not formally tied to the monarchy under the letters patent. No matter how heartfelt the ceremony was, no matter how beloved the child is, to the palace it simply didn't count. And the second crack became a fracture, While public narratives focused on drama and interviews, something heartbreaking unfolded in private. Harry, the prince who once declared himself done with the monarchy, reached back. Late-night calls, emotional conversations, personal appeals. He begged the palace to reconsider. Begged for recognition, begged for titles he believed his children deserved by blood. Not for status, not for celebrity, for legacy. But each plea hit the same cold, immovable wall. According to one palace aide, this is not about emotion. This is about order, lineage, and the future of the crown. And in that moment, Harry realised something devastating. He had stepped away from royal life, and the monarchy had stepped away from his children. Keep watching. Tap subscribe. The palace's final move is colder than you think. When the crown finally acted, it did so with chilling precision. No statements, no press appearances, no public debate, just silent, steady action. According to insiders, Archie and Lilibet allegedly lost titles, formal royal styles, any ceremonial roles, any future duties, placement in the line of succession, crown-funded security, a permanent spot in the royal archives, their legal presence in the monarchy's future. In royal life, titles aren't vanity. They are identity. They are keys to history. Without them, a royal child becomes ordinary. And that is exactly what these orders made them. Not as punishment, not as retaliation, but as protocol. Protocol that never bends. In the end, the palace never shouted, never argued, never fought the Sussex media machine. It didn't need to, because the monarchy understands something most people forget. Its greatest weapon is not noise. It is finality. While Meghan built a global brand, while Harry battled his past and present, while documentaries and interviews crowded headlines, the monarchy remained silent. And when the time came, it acted with the cold precision of an institution older than empires. One that knows power is not proven by speaking. It's proven by deciding. Archie and Lilibet will grow up loved, protected, and free. They will create their own stories, far from royal formality. But in the pages of royal history, the pages that outlast news cycles, trends, and controversies, their names will not appear. Not because of politics, not because of interviews, not because of public opinion, but because those who guard the monarchy made a decision guided by law, not emotion. And once the crown turns the page, once it chooses who belongs in its story, the rest simply disappear.